Considering the X factor that is Tua Tagovailoa's health in this draft, the Alabama quarterback who dislocated his hip in November already met with the Bengals last night and gave us a couple of key dates to put on our calendar moving forward. March 9th, when he expects to be cleared by his doctors, and April 9th, when he intends to hold a pro day.
This rehab process has been it's been gradually getting, upped as far as workouts with what we've been doing. So just strengthening all the parts around the hip, the glute, the hamstring, the quad, just being able to be ready that once March 9th hits and we're cleared to go, then I'll be able to do everything.
Well, if true, that could make things interesting at the top. According to Next Gen Stats, powered by AWS, Tua and Burrow are two of the best quarterbacks to come out in a while. Two of just 5 in the last 5 drafts that have earned production scores of 99 in the Next Gen evaluation system, which looks at college stats, Pro Football Focus data, combine data. And the guys that grade well aren't always the highest profile guys. Dak Prescott, for instance, got a 99 and went in the 4th round in 2016. So they were onto something there. Time will tell if they're right about these two guys, but they seem to be getting pretty good reviews. Yeah. David Carr, I know you've looked at a lot of tape of both of them. You have both of them in your top 2 in the draft?
Yeah, for sure. And this is not a knock on Joe Burrow and who he is as a player, but he was surrounded by a lot of good talent. He played a perfect system. It was a perfect storm for Joe Burrow. Tua also in a very similar system, very good teammates around him, but he's just more dynamic. So if we take the word of the doctors that he says he's going to be ready in March, ready to throw in April, everything that I see on film is Tua is a far superior quarterback. He does all the things that Joe does from the pocket, vision down the field, intermediate throws to deep throws are spot on. He understands where guys are moving in the defensive secondary. He knows when to throw it. He also knows when to use his eyes. He also knows when to buy time. He literally has the entire package minus the hip injury that's kind of hanging up where no one knows. He's able to run RPOs. He's able to run these nuanced stuff that is kind of making its way into the NFL. He'll be completely fine with that. But then he does things that are special. This is a free runner in his face, makes the guy miss, moves up the field. A la Russell Wilson. We see Russell Wilson do stuff like that all the time. He does it not just to run. He does it to look down the field to make big throws like Patrick Mahomes and some of these guys. So if he's healthy and you look at the two guys, it's Tua all the way for me, but I understand.
At 1 for the
Bengals. At number 1. But I understand the hip thing. And that's the thing that we just don't know as we sit here. He's saying he's going to be fine, but do we really know that? It's going to have to be checked out.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Tua is ready or not ready, you got to make sure you got a veteran there so he's not rushed to go in and start.
Far superior. That's a strong statement.
Far superior.
Athletically, he just is.
The fact that Burrow's not working out, is that a good call for him?
Yeah, I went into the same situation. I had a pretty good feeling that the Houston Texans were going to take me. I went to the Combine, and I didn't really have a plan to throw. There was really no upside to it. Ended up talking to Charlie, and he's like, just go out there and throw. We just want to see you compete. I pretty much knew it was going to happen. Joe pretty much knows what's going to happen for the most part. Cincinnati's probably going to take him. There's really no upside to it. I mean, at this point, he probably could go out there and throw it. It wouldn't really hurt him. But that's the only thing you can do is be negative. Because I went out and threw the ball, and I didn't feel like I threw my best. I was kind of like, well, I don't really know who these guys are.
Did you regret the decision?
I did. I remember walking back into the tunnel. I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I throw to these guys? I don't even know who these guys are.
Because you're a competitor and you wanted to compete.
Exactly. And so at the end of it, it didn't really matter. And they ended up taking me, which is probably the case for Joe. But there isn't really upside when you're already at the number 1 spot. It's really difficult.
In the last 5 years, all the top quarterbacks have performed at the Combine, except for Sam Darnold and Kyler Murray. And this year, Joe Burrow and who else? Tua's not going to do it because of injury. So I would say, like, if you're trying to weigh in if a guy's going to be great in the NFL because he works out the Combine, and you're definitely going to see him at his pro day, I wouldn't put that much stock into that. When it comes to Joe Burrow, I would say this. If you look at the tape, every single throw you need to know about or see, turn on his tape. You don't have to see it at the Combine. Turn on his tape. He did it in pressure situations. He did it on the biggest stages against the best teams in college football, against the best defenses. He has nothing to prove about what he can do as a player. It's just the little check marks that I'm sure that they want to check off.
Plus, as David can tell you, if you wait till your pro day, you can run a 38-yard, 40-yard.
That's right, downhill, one direction, and hop right
with
over
the wind,
fence
right?
And leave.
With the wind.
Sorry, guys, I ran it.
Have your friends mark it off. very casually.
Good job, Eric Mankey, shout out.
Daniel Jones worked out at the Combine last year. It worked out pretty well for him. Giants taking him off the board at 6. He was the second quarterback taken. He went on to throw 24 touchdowns in 12 games. So while new head coach for the Giants, Joe Judge, has been vague about committing to him next year, it stands to reason that they don't need a quarterback, which makes this statement from Dave Gettleman today potentially interesting for the teams that do.
Well, absolutely. We're open for business. Again, whatever we do is going to be in our best interest. Trading back is fraught. It has danger. What happens if you trade back 8 spots? We're at 4. Let's say we trade back to 8. There's only 4 players that we like. What if they're all gone? Now, what are you going to do? You're going to trade back again? You can trade yourself back out of good players. But to answer your question, we're open.
Ooh, that could be interesting for teams that want to get ahead of the Dolphins, perhaps. And then there is the situation in Vegas. What is going on there? Are they committed to Derek Carr? Or are they looking to make a move at quarterback? There have been a ton of rumors this offseason, and Mike Mayock probably didn't put them to bed with this answer earlier today.
We did a lot of really good things on offense last year. The disconnect was we didn't score a lot of points. You're 11 in yards and 24 in points. There's an issue. It's defense, it's special teams, it's not scoring in the red zone, and it's not scoring in goal to goal. Okay, so to me, those are the issues. Derek Carr played at a high level. I'm very happy with Derek Carr. What I've told everybody I've been in touch with since the day I took this job is we're going to evaluate every position every year. And if we can get better, we will.
David Carr. Yes. What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, he's absolutely right. I think there's a reason that he was really good on our network and he's really good general manager because he understands that teams are built through the entire process. It's not just one guy. I know quarterbacks are sexy, right? Literally, and in a team scenario. You have to go out and you have to find that guy. If you don't have him, you have to find him. But if you have that guy and you have other components that are missing, like you said, defense, right? You got to fill those pieces. So anything can happen. If people can pick up the phone, make a call to Mike Mayock, offer him some crazy thing to build up his team that he thinks he needs to build up, and then, yeah, Derek, maybe he's on his way. But when you look at it, you got a guy. You just need some pieces. Imagine grabbing a receiver or a linebacker and what that would do to your already 10th or 11th ranked offense. Talking about scoring points, play better defense, find a guy that can be a coverage dictator, and now Tyrell Williams, Hunter Renfrow, your run game is all better. And then suddenly you're a top 5 offense and you're good. You just got to figure out what you want to do and how this thing's all going to come together.
And Mike is old school, so you got to listen to the verbiage when he says that we're competitive at each position. Those old school coaches and GMs, they say that because they want you to compete. But in theory, you already know certain guys aren't going anywhere. Now, we've heard the Derek Carr moving or maybe get traded before, and he talked about improving position. Now, you already have the 12 and the 19 picks. If you're talking about improving your position, is that collecting draft picks through a trade? And your brother would probably be the only guy I could think of they could trade and get a lot of draft picks for because they don't have a second-round draft choice, right? So if you want to get some guys, if you're talking about plugging some of the holes you have as a team, well, you need a receiver. You need a defensive back. You need a quarterback. A linebacker. Yeah. So you need those positions if you're going to make that type of trade. So there are a lot of holes to fill. It was me, get a linebacker, get a receiver, good to go. Yeah.
And like you said, listen, to everything. There's just,
It's the NFL, Lindsay.
Your brother's in good company, at least this offseason. It feels like half the league is up for grabs at the quarterback position, including the job in Carolina. Cam Newton posted this video of himself planking today on Instagram with the caption, "I'm so comfortable with being uncomfortable," which is good because the Panthers have yet to commit to him as their starting quarterback moving forward.
I probably won't say about anybody that they'll be a starter. I'll try to be really, especially in my first year, try to be really disciplined about not promising things to certain guys. I'll just say that I really want him on the team, and I really want him to be healthy. And I know when Cam's healthy, who he is and the type of player that he is. And so my focus, you'll hear me say I'm a process-oriented guy, and that just sounds so cliche. I know. My wife says, Matt, stop saying the process. But to me, it's just about, hey, are we doing all the things to get him healthy? When Cam's healthy, he's one of the best of the best.
So what does that mean for their plans moving forward? Because they have to make plans, don't they? They can't just sit around and wait to see if he's healthy at some point down the road. Ian Rapoport, what are you hearing about all this?
Yeah, my understanding, Lindsay, of their plan is that they plan to have Cam Newton as their starter in 2020, provided he is healthy. And this is a little bit of a change from what we thought in December, that they were going to move forward and attempt to trade Cam Newton. And his health and the climate of where he potentially could land as far as a trade goes has altered that. First of all, with his foot, things are going well from his surgically repaired foot. He had that Lisfranc injury, so all that is fine. But he's not expected to be game ready, really 100% ready by June. And just hard to do a trade for a quarterback needy team at that point. And plus, this is a team that is rebuilding, and having a franchise quarterback there rather than trade him to a place that really doesn't exist at this point, probably a better option for the Carolina Panthers moving forward. And obviously, this wasn't the only little bit of quarterback news we got today. The Chicago Bears and Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, they talked about Mitchell Trubisky and his future. They were asked, of course, the question they've been getting asked for a while now, are they going to pick up his fifth-year option? They both left it a little bit vague, not entirely committing to making that decision, just saying they were going to do so in May. But from what I understand, every single time they've had a chance to commit to Mitchell Trubisky for the future, they have done it. I would expect them to do so with the fifth-year option as well.
Thank you, Ian. A lot of business going down in Indy this week, including a very important meeting tonight between representatives from the owners and the players to discuss the new CBA proposal that the owners voted to approve last week, but that the players did not end up voting on. Tom Pelissero told us on Friday that a conference call amongst player reps got a little heated. He is with Judy Battista right now. What's the latest?
Well, Lindsay, NFL owners and players have been meeting for over 2 hours and counting here. This meeting was a product of a request by the Players Union, which, as you referenced, ran into a bit of a roadblock in their internal discussions about this proposed collective bargaining agreement. Now, this is the first time that many players have been in the same room as owners since last July, when they were very early in the negotiating process. At minimum, Judy, the players wanted the opportunity to have a face-to-face, open dialogue about issues such as player safety and other concerns that they have with this proposed CBA.
Right. I think the expectation coming in here is that there was not necessarily going to be a great deal of movement on what had already been agreed to. The owners voted on that thinking that was a deal that they had with the union. So there may not be much wiggle room, if any wiggle room. What they are hoping this is really a clear the air session where everybody can get on the same page. Everybody will know what's in the deal, the details, what's not in the deal, what the concerns are on each side, and then hoping that they come out of this and perhaps the union is then ready to move forward with a vote.
The tentative plan is for the Board of Player Representatives to take a vote either tonight or tomorrow morning. Of course, they also did plan to take that last Friday. It didn't end up happening. If the board approves by a simple majority, then it would go to the full players. And if they approve, then you would have 10 years of labor peace. A lot at stake here in terms of the revenue. We're talking about billions of dollars. And also, more immediately, the short-term rules for the 2020 season. The league year is scheduled to begin on March 18th. We've already seen one delay with the franchise and transition tag deadline being pushed back 2 days. And there are some changes if they go into the final league year. As of right now, teams like the Bucs and the Titans and the Cowboys could use both the franchise and transition tags. If a new CBA is approved, it would go back to one.